And it's just like you're talking to me.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to introduce, this is Walt Azar, an old friend of mine from the neighborhood. And Walt is a Command Sergeant Major in the United States Army Reserve.
Right.
Okay.
Indiana Guard.
Indiana Guard, yes.
Retired.
Uh-huh. And to give it an idea, how old are you right now, Walt?
I'm 82 now.
You're 82 years old. And by gosh, you still have the fight in you, don't you?
Yeah, I still got some left in me, yeah.
Okay.
And I've been working weights, so I'm starting to tighten up a little better, yeah.
Well, that's good. We almost lost Walt about 2 years ago in an auto accident, and just we were really glad to have him back and fully recovered then.
It's good to be back.
Okay, Walt, the reason that I have you here today is I wanted, as I'm going to be talking to some veterans and some people that were here on Earth before I was, you know, and you're a few years older than me, and you've got the experience of World War II. And I want to take you back to 1941, before the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. What were you doing back in 1941, before the war?
I started, it was hard to get a job because of my age. I went to Harvester, I went to G, I went all over, and I just couldn't find a job. I graduated in '39 from Central High School, and jobs were hard to find. So one day I was waiting on a streetcar, not a bus, but a streetcar, to get on. Somebody tapped me on the shoulder, and I turned around. It was a friend of mine. He wrote the speechwriters for the politicians. His name was Al Lutfi. And he says, Walter, he says, you graduated from school, didn't you? I said, yes, I did. He said, you do anything? I said, no. I said, I've been looking for a job, but because of my age, I was like 21 then, I said, they figured the military would take me. So he said, well, come with me over to City Hall. So, and he says, would you like a job? Would you like to cut grass? I said, anything. I do any job would be all right. And so he run me over to the filtration plant on June the 27th, 1940. And it was the next day. It was my birthday. It was a good present. So with 8 other fellows, we started cutting the grass by hand. We had old lawnmowers.
Oh, the real lawnmowers.
The real mowers,
okay.
By hand. We had 23 acres that we had to cut. So it paid $37.50 every 2 weeks, and we worked, including Saturday too, 6 days a week. And but it's funny that $37.50 every 2 weeks, you still had money to spend. I mean, at that time. And
the loaf of bread was what, a nickel?
Well, probably 7 cents. Huh? Yeah, my mom used to make a lot of the Syrian bread, you know, and of course we had a lot of that. And it's surprising, you know, during the Depression that my dad was working at Bass Foundry. They made train wheels.
That was out on Bass Road, was it?
No, it's over on Wallace Street. It comes from Hannah Street clean up to K Street. And he'd work 1 or 2 days a week, you know, during the Depression. But Mom, there was 7 of us kids. There was 2 other brothers and 4 sisters. And it's surprising, we always had plenty to eat. It's how did Mom figure that out? But she knew how to make different things, you know. But that was
before the war.
Before the war, yeah.
So, do you remember where you were at when you?
Yeah, it was on a Sunday afternoon. My Mom just made a big meal, and so we all sat around the table. And he says, a flash come over the radio that Pearl Harbor was bombed. I said, what the heck is a Pearl Harbor? You know, we didn't know about that. And then, of course, Mom was starting to worry because there was 2 other brothers. And she says, oh boy, she's starting in again. I said, well, you know, we got to take care of this country. And, you know, I've often wondered when I was a little fella going to watching the World War I movies, wonder what kind of a soldier I would make. You know, you just, you know, you say, I bet I'd be scared. Probably I couldn't do the job. But, you know, after the war like that, hey, I did good as far as being a man, not being a child, being a man. And
that was before TV, you know, between World War I and World War II.
Right.
You didn't have Roy Rogers or Cowboy Copas or or Gene Autry or any of those guys.
No, we had the Lone Ranger, we had Tom Mix and Hoot Gibson. And
on the radio though, right?
Yeah, radio, yeah.
Okay.
We looked at the radio like we was watching the TV. Yeah, and the neighbors, when we didn't even have a radio, the neighbor, they'd call us over and we could come home from school. I went to Hannah School, run home and get on. It was about a 15-minute, a half-hour show, but mostly with a lot of commercial. And then we'd watch Buck Rogers in the 25th Century. And then Merton Marge used to come on. I thought a lot of these guys in my age can remember all that stuff. But then I wanted to help out home, so I got a job shining shoes at Nick's Artistic Shoe Shine Parlor. Then over by the Habit Cigar Store on Baker in Calhoun. I worked there 4 years when I was going to high school every night. And I made probably good money at that time, you know, it was real good. But I always kept busy. I keep busy right now, even up to the day I keep busy.
Now getting back though, when your mom found out that the Pearl Harbor was attacked, and then worrying about the sons and things and her brothers, what went through your mind then?
Well, I figured, you know, I was thinking about going enlisting, because, you know, I was just the right age. I was 21 at the time, and I said, well, you know, Mom says, please don't enlist. She says, they'll draft. So they did. They got my older brother Charlie right away. They got in on the first draft call. And, you know, I said, I'd like to go with Charlie. But, of course, at that time, you could put two brothers in the same outfit, like the Sullivans was on the Navy, and they all got killed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Mom says, please, they'll take you soon enough when they need you. So anyhow, you know, to make Mom happy, I stayed around, and the next draft call, I got called up. And, you know, I never hardly left the city of Fort Wayne. You get on a bus or a train, and we went to Indianapolis.
That's how it was back then.
Yeah, right. And they took us to the old armory on Clinton Street, and when I took my shirt off, I got, put your shirt back on, you're accepted. I said, yeah, come on, examine me. They sent us to Indianapolis, and then, of course, they checked us all out there. We stayed there for a week, and then we moved out to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And then we took our basic training, 13
And how
weeks.
how was basic training?
Well, it was so much different. You wake up, when we got to Fort Bragg, got into the barracks, and you slept in the squad room, about 20 guys on each side. And then you went to sleep, and boy, about 5 o'clock, a whistle blowed. First sergeant come in there. Come on, you guys, get up. We're ready to roll like that. And of course, we had to fix our bed, had to mop the floors, everything, and then go in and clean up and get ready for chow. Of course, they call roll call. And then we went to chow. Then after chow, hey, I didn't realize, boy, this is going to be a rough 13 weeks. And it was rough. We couldn't sleep all night. They'd come in at 3 o'clock in the morning. Let's go, we're going on a 5-mile hike, 4-mile hike. And we'd run for a while, and we'd walk for a while. But that basic training, they've either made a man out of you, or they kick you out. I mean, that was it.
Did you see people kicked out?
Yeah, we had a few the guys that couldn't stand. Yeah, we had to climb mountains. We had to do everything. And you know, I fell in love with the Jeep. I still got a Jeep. All these years, I still got a Jeep. I put it in the parade and stuff.
What color is it, your Jeep?
OD. It's the same color as they left when they left Korea.
Okay.
But we tested a lot of Jeeps out. We had some Jeeps that your steering wheel would turn the back, and we didn't like those. But we finally came out with that M1 Jeep that we had during the war. And to me, when you got a war on, you should have a Jeep in there too. Now they got the Hummers, which is a great car. But I understand they're making a Hummer between the Jeep and the big Hummer. The next step, the guy said he saw a bunch of them on a trailer the other day, and he said, "Did you see that?" I said, "No, I like to see that. It's a little bigger than a Jeep and a little smaller than a Hummer." But
well, let's get you back to the basic training.
Yes,
So you were there for 13 weeks.
13 weeks,
And then, yeah, I imagine that they had a graduation ceremony.
Oh yeah. When the new guys was coming in like that, greenhorns, you know, we were already through it. Yeah, we took commando courses. We took everything. You know, they taught you how to. Yeah, I shouldn't say it, taught you how to kill. Even the kids, if it was in your way. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. When you got done with that basic training, you were about ready for anything. We stabbed, you know, we had dummies and all that kind of stuff. Threw hand grenades, and you didn't think, but it's, our government knew what they were doing, and the guys that went in, you know, we're greenhorns. We didn't know nothing about it. We didn't hurt nobody. It's like, hey, when they got done with you, you made a good soldier.
You were a lean, mean fight machine then, right?
Yeah, made it right. We've been doing it good. And even though when we got overseas, you
now,
still.
wait, now I'm getting you from basic training now.
Mhm.
Did you go to an AIT, which is an advanced infantry school?
No, they put me into Fort Custer, Michigan, with a towed through 37 millimeter. That was towed until they got the smart idea of making our outfit. They call it a tank destroyer. We had open turret tanks, and we went out on the range and would fire these tanks. And we were put into more of a.
What's an open turret?
Open turret is a tank with open on like a convertible on top, and we had a 90 millimeter on that kind. We could. We had speed. We got rid of weight so we could have speed. And we could go 70
so it didn't
miles
have
an
any
hour.
armor protection on the top of it?
No armor on the. It'd be armor on the side, but nothing on top.
It was just like a mobile tank or a mobile cannon then.
Yeah, in a wooded area during the war, if a German throw a hand grenade up, you know, a tomato stash over into that, of course, most of the time we could throw them out real quick before they exploded. But those tanks were
Vulnerable?
they were just like sitting in a Jeep. If it got hit, you know, boom, it'd throw you all out of that stuff. But it was a tank destroyer, a 605th tank destroyers, and when we went overseas, we went through with the 9th Army. Of course, I don't get ahead of the story.
Well, okay, so we got you taking your advanced training up in Michigan now with this tank destroyer unit. And how long was that? How long had you been
We
there?
stayed about 6 months in Fort Custer. Then we moved the tank destroyer school in Camp Hood, Texas. It's probably a Fort Hood now,
Yeah.
but central part of Texas. And there's where we took all our training and firing weapons, firing heavy artillery, small weapons. And that we was there for 13 months. But what they did to us, they took our battalion to make school troopers out of us. So we taught new OCS people coming in.
So they made you a training cadre?
Yeah, we were a training cadre, huh? And we stayed there for 13 months. And I was getting a little excited, and so was most of the other fellows.
What rank did you attain at that time?
As a buck sergeant.
You became
a
a buck
corporal
sergeant.
and a buck sergeant. Yeah, I picked up the military life real easy. I mean, I knew seemed like I'd done it before. Movements and all that stuff that goes with it, you know. And of course, you had to respect your officers. When I first went in, it was sort of funny. First day in, I was on, being Azar, I was on KP. So I didn't know what KP was. You know, KP, you're on KP. I said, what did I do, carry a club around, hitting guys in my head or what? No, they says, you do dishes and set the tables up. So it was all right. So at noontime, he says, take a break a little bit and come on back. So I'm walking down the street and some lieutenant, I know he was a lieutenant, but I didn't know what he was. And I run by him, he says, soldier, come back here. I said, for what? You know, he's come back here, I'm an officer. I said, oh, you're a what? You're an officer? How do I know you're an officer? He had a Lieutenant Bars up here, and he explained to me. He was nice about it. So I said, okay, I know what a lieutenant is now. And I said, what these other guys with stripes on? Of course, I knew they were sergeants. Of course, that's when we first went in. But one day I went over to mess hall, and I took my canteen, and they fill up your canteen, go back. So I got my canteen and coffee and food. I'm going back, and here comes the lieutenant. You salute me, soldier. So I dropped everything and saluted him. So the captain come by and says, what's going on here? I said, he yelled at me and wanted me to salute him, so what else could I do? I couldn't salute with the coffee, so I just dropped everything. He says, Lieutenant, you know better than that. If he's eating, you don't mess with him. Anyhow, he made the lieutenant go back with me and get more coffee and mess gear. But you know, that's the first one we played.
Yeah, that's kind of a unique story. Now you've spent 18 months now of your military career in the United States.
Right.
Okay. And did you have a point of demarcation to go over into Europe?
Yeah, we went to Fort Dix.
Fort Dix in
Yeah,
New
then
Jersey.
we got on the ship. And we don't.
What
By
kind
the
of
way,
ship was it?
we went to the Queen Mary.
The Queen
The
Mary?
ghost, they call it the ghost ship. Yeah,
Ghost ship.
the Queen Mary, a beautiful big ship.
Uh-huh.
And we thought, you know, and then they didn't have. We didn't go in escort with other ships.
That was anything different than Fort Wayne, wasn't it?
Yeah, altogether
something
different.
different, wasn't
And
it?
I got to see the Statue of Liberty. You know,
Yeah.
I was on guard, top deck guard, to keep people from lighting up cigarettes and stuff at night.
Yeah.
And I looked over there and I said, "Hey, you guys, look at the Statue of Liberty." It was about 3 inches tall when we already went by it, but it was something to see. And of course, the guy says, so I went down in the third section where we were stationed at. I said, "You guys missed the Statue of Liberty." He says, "You see it?" I said, "Yeah, I saw it." But we had to watch all the way over. We zigged and zagged all the way over every 7 minutes, so subs couldn't get a bearing on us. And they did have armament on the ship, but mostly rockets. You know, they had rockets. If any airplane went over, them rockets would zoom up, you know.
But they said that the Queen Mary was so fast that it would you know, because of zigzagging, it didn't really need the protection because it was
that's
a lot
right,
faster
yeah.
than the surface craft.
And then we got into England, and then moved by train to Sasebo. They call it Camp Sasebo.
Uh-huh. Well, go ahead.
We stayed at the camp for a week, and we could see those Lancasters, British Lancasters, and our bombers go over. And a lot of them had hit the mountains when they was coming in. You know, they were shot up pretty
They
bad.
didn't have much of a nose on those airplanes, those Lancasters.
No, they didn't have, no. And
Not like the American ones.
our bombers would go at night, and the
Uh-huh.
Lancasters would drop the bombs during the day. But we've seen a lot of them come in and crash, you know. And then they took us up one of the days up into the mountain there to police stuff the area. And there was such a British pulled the dead out right away. But there was stuff laying all over, and, you know, it was a shame. And then a certain time comes that we got on LSTs to throw our vehicles on the landing craft. And what they did before we left England, they fed us hot dogs. And, you know, and you could see that the English Channel was rough. And
it wasn't going up and
up
down.
and down, up and down. So
Were they good as Coney dogs in the down?
well, I'll tell you what happened to me. I was on top deck there watching the vehicle. They all chained down, and some guy hollered at me, "Hey, Paisan!" So I'm looking at him, you know. He says, "Hey, come on, come on." So I jumped over the railing in his ship. He says, "You like the spaghetti?" Yes, yeah. So I went down and I got my fill of spaghetti, and he says, "When you guys moving out?" I said, "We don't know. You know, it's all secret stuff." I said, "I don't know." He said, "Do you eat hot dogs?" I said, "No, I don't care for hot dogs." But most of the other, even the sailors, they had hot dogs. And boy, when we started going across, he fixed me 2 sacks of chicken, piece of chicken. He says, "You eat that when you go over." So I had to split it with the rest of the guys. You know, I didn't do it. So we got about halfway across there, and everybody was sick. And I wasn't sick yet, but, you know, from hot dogs, it just...
Well, if one guy's sick, the rest of them are going to get sick.
Yeah,
It's like that.
even the sailors come in there, and so I was down in a hole watching the vehicles, and you smell gas and all that stuff there. Finally, I could hear the guy at the other end. I said, "Oh, jeez." So I was all right until a lieutenant came in, and I was laying on the floor with my feet propped up against the door, the bulkhead. So when he opened the door, like, he said, "Where you at, Sergeant?" I said, "Down here." I said, "I'm all right." He says, "I got a relief." He started throwing up. I said, "Oh boy." And then of course I got sick too. And when we got across to Le Havre, we went to Le Havre, and everybody was getting off the ship. And he said, "Sergeant?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Get a clean crew and clean the ship, the LST up, clean it up." I said, "How am I supposed to do that? I don't know about the ship." You know, they had drains and heads. You call them heads, not latrines. So anyhow, I had that job to clean that thing up. We used fire hose, and it worked out. The Navy was there to help us. But boy, talk about, we got on land, and honest to God, Tom, for 2 days after we got on land, we were still moving up and down. Yeah, we did stop. But, you know, it's a funny thing. They warned us about the French people. The Air Force and the Navy leveled Le Havre. And, you know, I always thought about, boy, if I come over here, I want to do a good job. I wish I could have landed in the Normandy beachhead. But when I saw that movie on, some of it real, I'm glad I didn't land in Normandy, because those guys didn't. They said there was 10,000 troopers laying in, killed that many in Normandy itself. I said, I didn't want to be that brave. I landed Le Havre, and they warned us about the kids. And then, of course, we had our open tanks, that the buildings that were still, this is keep an eye on them buildings. If one Jeep in front of you or one tank in front of you, see anything moving up there, open up on them, you know, make them duck. We didn't necessarily want to try to kill them, but made them duck. So we moved across France, and we went north of Paris. I was with the 9th Army as General Simpson, and we worked back and forth with General Patton's outfit. They crisscrossed us once in a while. And we got into Germany, and there's when we started. They were die-hard German soldiers, because the SS and the round brown shirts. When we moved into Juliet, it was completely level. We crossed the Royal River, and they flooded that, and we had to land with rubber boats on the other side.
Well, let me go back to the first city that you actually landed in when you came across the channel.
Yeah, it was Le Havre.
Okay. How did it feel to stand on that French soil there?
Well, we didn't think it was as scary or as dangerous as we moved further into east to Germany, but those German soldiers were darn good soldiers. You know, they're. But we found out one thing right away, as being a green soldier, as you start to be an old roughneck, that if you could take out their sergeant or the lieutenant in the German army, we'd take them out. They got confused. I mean, they were too smart. They always had to have somebody to give them orders, and we found that out real quick, like. So as we moved across France, if we could take out the officers quick, if we could take them out, and a lot of times the regular German soldier would quit. He'd throw up his arms, you know. But your SS and your diehards were something else. We had to mostly destroy them, period. We didn't take no too many prisoners on that. But it seemed like, you know, 6 months, I had 6 months of combat in World War II. But, you know, Tom, I think all veterans will agree with me. After a while, you didn't think nobody could kill you. It's just the way you felt. You know, you knew what to do and how to do it. And if you had to kill somebody, you had to do your job.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we got into Germany, we knew we crossed one more river to cross. They had a movie on that. Yeah. And
so tell me, what kind of weapons did you use during World War II?
Okay, we were issued, we had the 03 rifle when I first went in, and we had the pancake helmets. This was in 42.
Oh, those are like the World War I helmets.
Yeah, we had those helmets. Now, when you would jump off a truck, we'll say air raid, we had to jump off and hit the ground, you know, a dish or something. When you hit the ground, that helmet would almost break your nose. It'd come down and hit you in the nose, you know. A lot of guys had sore noses for a while. But, yeah, yeah.
Here, I'll just pass that over to you.
Yeah.
You can tell the people about that this kind of helmet that you wore.
Yeah, this was the first, yeah, oh boy.
Well, that accentuates your bald head, though. It kind of looks like...
Well, I used to have hair when I was a little young.
Yeah, but it looks like your head is OD green now. That's
Here's a way when you jump off a truck, like this here. Jeez, your nose was sore for a long time. But when they did come out with a new helmet, you know, that was a lot better than this thing here. I don't see how these World War I guys could wear them. They had to wear them. They would deflect shrapnel. A bullet sideways would bounce, but we've seen guys hit it here, you know, sometimes ricochet, and sometimes come out. and it was a total mess with the guys. But
Well, nothing would have helped them on something like that. You can just set that down there.
yeah,
Just hold that gun up there that you got there so they can see what that. This is the Chicago typewriter here, and I understand you had one of those for a while.
yeah, I carried one with me, but I had the grease gun for a while. Most of the guys know what I'm talking about. It looked like an old grease gun. It was a 45 with 30 rounds in it. Okay, when they first come out, they had a release clip here, but they didn't have a guard over it. And when we crossed the Royal River, it took 6 men over to clear minefields out before our destroyers could come in. And hit the ground, and the machine gun fire both the ways, artillery both ways, and we saw some shadows of Germans coming toward us. So we started, I'm trying to pull the trigger, and I didn't have no clip. I said, damn, I lost the clip. So anyhow, I didn't like the grease gun, so I put another clip in, and we moved, and I heard a guy moaning and groaning. So I jumped down in a hole where he was, like that, and I rolled him over, and it was sickening what I saw. And I said, hey, he says, I'm going to take your he had a BAR with some bandoliers. I said, I'm going to take your BAR, I'm going to give you this grease gun. He was dying. I said, I'll get the so-and-so that done this if I can. So I took his BAR, and I carried that through the war, and I could play a nice tune with that. You didn't have to aim it like it there. And then I always had we were called gangsters. You from Chicago, you know, the little kids. You Chicago. Yeah, we look like Chicago. We used to put a cigar. We got a lot of cigars in some of the German factories, and I never lit them up. I never did smoke, but you chew on them. You're nervous, so before you attack a town, you know, you put one in your mouth, and you probably did look like a gangster to these kids. But we always had dogs with us. I don't know why dogs like their GIs, and the kids, after a while, even the German kids, we didn't want to hurt those kids, you know, but sometimes we had to open up. When we crossed the Rhine River, that was awful. We found our paratroopers with their heads cut off and their helmets still on. And there were pictures of the family were scattered around, you know, and you look at that stuff. So our orders were burn, kill everything in front of you as you're moving towards Germany. So, you know, it's a hard thing to do. I don't know what anybody says. Yeah, you say, I could kill this, I could kill that. Hey, it's not that easy. And so we did what we were told, and we got into Germany, and then we started crossing the Ruhr, the Rhine, the Elbe. I met my brother in Mannheim.
That's kind of cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I knew his outfit. He was the 79th Infantry Division. So I told the lieutenant, I had my own Jeep, and I carried demolition, explosive. And I said, Lieutenant, I think my brother was in Mannheim. Can I go see him? He said, well, be careful. Keep in radio contact. I said, okay, we're resting for their area. So I went back to Mannheim, and I thought, see, military police. I said, I'm looking for, I forget what B company I was, 79th Infantry. I said, I'm looking for a Corporal Azar. And he said, yeah, he's on guard at the motor pool there. I said, can I leave my Jeep here so nobody steals? No, if you put your vehicle down and walk away from it, somebody steal it. I mean, that's the way it was. Even in Korea it was the same way.
Sure.
So I said, Sergeant, can I leave my Jeep here? Would you be responsible for it? He says, nobody's going to take it. So I went over and I saw this guy out on guard. So I didn't see my brother for 2 years about, you know. And I said, hi, Corporal. He says, hi, Sergeant. He says, hey, what can I do for you? I said, no, I need a quarter ton. I said, I don't need a dispatch. You want to I got my dispatch right here. So I started walking away from him, and I turned around. I said, you gonna shoot me? He says, you got a dispatch? So I walked up to him. He kept looking. Is that you, Walt? I said, yeah. Are you gonna shoot me? No! And so I spent a day with him. You know, they pulled him off the line, and of course they were cleaning the equipment and stuff. And he said, we're ready to go home. Are you guys going home pretty quick? I said, no, we got to find the Russians yet. And so that's when we crossed the Elbe, you know. But it was good to see him. Then I met my neighbor.